Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. So today we're going to do some deep diving into some numbers that I've been able to find here online regarding the Division 2's player base. And all I have numbers on are on PlayStation and Xbox. But before we look at the numbers, I want to show you how this website called GameStat.com is able to find out who's playing what games and at what time, because apparently there's a process and it's an individual that's doing it. So the data actually does have some margin of error, and it takes a while for the data to update. But from the process that the person who's actually doing this analysis explained, you can pretty much take this data to a specific extent. So even if you wanted to slash like 20% off the numbers that the data gives you, you'll still be fine, even though he recommends, taking off 10% or adding 10% to those numbers. So first of all, one of the really cool articles on this site is how the player counts are calculated. And I want to go through this before we even dare look at the Division 2 numbers, because I don't want anybody to come and say, how do you know these numbers are true? The way it's been explained, I believe that these numbers can be used as some sort of a representation. I'm not going to take it with 100%, validity, but that's just my thing. So GameStat.com estimates are based on a representative sample of 8 million accounts retrieved via PSN API. The obtained data is extrapolated to all PSN accounts with a small margin of error. Every public PSN account includes a list of played games, which is a trophy list. When we collect a somewhat significant number of accounts, it gives an idea who played what by this date. 0.5% of gamers have played Goat Simulator, 7% Mortal Kombat X, 10% The Last of Us, 33% GTA 5, and so on and so forth, which allows putting a few dots on the graph, arranging all games according to their relative numbers. What makes the data especially valuable is the fact that PSN also publishes the dates when every trophy in the game was earned. By looking at the earliest trophy, we learn when each player started it. Well, often with a lag of a couple of days, which is a small price to pay for learning what PSN looked like years ago. Even if a player hasn't earned any trophy, the game still appears in the trophy list with the date it launched. After we calculate how many players started playing each game on each day, we can go further and draw the whole graph, although without scale labels yet. Now, there's just one thing missing, the absolute numbers, which is knowing that one game has 3 times more players than another is good, but is it 3 million to 1 million or 7.5 million to 2.5 million? In fact, to scale this graph for all games at once, we need just one strong number for any game, for any date in the past. Then we would be able to relatively calculate any other number based on it. Fortunately, we've done just one, but hundreds. We have not just one, but hundreds of those numbers, thanks to Sony and its My PS4 leak. So let's stop here for a little bit. Apparently, there was some sort of a leak or whatever that somebody posted on Reddit, which actually showed how Sony had accidentally disclosed player numbers. And this was a year ago that somebody made this post. And this person says Sony accidentally disclosed the number of players for possibly every PS4 game. And so apparently this is the process and the numbers that this data analyst or whoever they are, I don't know what, they're the owner of this website, they're actually, using that. So you can come here and look at pretty much more information on how these numbers are derived. I read the whole thing, and the person is actually like, this is not my job. This is what I do for a hobby. If you wanted to be my job, donate as a Patreon. So if you really want to support this work, by all means do so. Now, let's pivot and look at the Division 2's numbers on PlayStation 4. And this is the number that really kind of started to get me a little bit excited, because I've been hearing this, the game is dead, no one's playing the game, and all this talk. But I don't think we've been able to find any empirical, data to prove or disprove that statement. So far, this is given a total player count as of September 6, 2020, and is given a total player count of 5 million on PlayStation. I don't know. Maybe 5 million people powered the game or whatever. You can even download this, to a spreadsheet and take a look at it and look at the peak from around April of 2019, which is, kind of when the data kind of makes some sense regarding how much the player counts were, and even further. And if you look at March, Warlords of New York came out around this time. So, you can see a spike in the chart. Now, they're touting, whoever this numbers are coming from, that from 6th of August to 6th of September, there were 90,000 new players added to the game. And for those of you who remember, we were having this conversation and we were saying, if, and I did this math yesterday, I was like, come on, if 90,000 players paid $30 for this game and bought Warlords of New York, that was a $2.7 million sale, right out the bat. Now, returning players were 120,000. And, this says returning players who have earned at least one trophy in the last month. So put these numbers in perspective. You're looking at over, 100,000+ players who are currently playing the game as we speak. And this is just for PlayStation. Now, are there 5 million people really playing the game? I don't want to go that far. I don't want to be the guy that says there are 5 million people playing the game on PlayStation 4 currently. I want to go more with the new player numbers and with the returning player numbers, because this is kind of how I feel that, will provide a representation of a game like this, which kind of sees spikes and dips in player counts and all of that. But if this is any representation, Chris Gansler, when he said this statement during the time that we were going through the drama in the community, we have millions of players, I don't know. He probably said something that he should not have said, because these companies are they hold these numbers very close to their chests. Now, here is the problem. If you go look in Xbox games, if you go to the menu here, you look at Xbox games, you look at Xbox titles, you look at the new players that have joined, and then the total player count. The Division 2 is also listed here, but I can't look at the data the way the spikes actually do, go up or down. So that's my problem regarding, this. But it is showing that there were about 66,000 new players to the Division 2. I guess maybe it's because as of September 6th, I guess maybe it's because the Division 2 is with, or the Division 1 is with Xbox Gold. And I think now it's on sale as well, and having a total player count of about 4 million. And maybe PC makes up the rest of it in Epic Game Store. So if you go look at the Wikipedia page for the Division 2 sales, I think this number, let me see, the Division 2 sales numbers, I think we're starting to see some correlation. The game sold more than 10 million copies during the 8th generation of video game consoles. So you look at the number that this person is touting here, the total player count, which is about 5 million. And then you're looking at the total player count here on Xbox One, which is about 4.1 million. And looking at what, they're writing here on Wikipedia, I think we have somewhat of a correlation that we can say, I think there's a margin of error, but this data seems to represent what's going on. So I wanted to show you guys the numbers. I want you to come to the website nonetheless and do some digging and kind of figure out, what these numbers are. I think there are other websites that try to do stuff like this as well, but this is the first one that I found that had an explanation on how they were getting their data. I didn't want to just go ahead and grab grab data from where I didn't know. And they even do a lot of really cool analyses as well with the Division 2. They talk about the popularity in different regions. They do comparisons, and all of this stuff really goes in to show that this game is one of the most unique RPG games out there. People who come into this, who look at this game, even from outside, something still piques their interest about it. Yes, the game has its issues, but majority of the players that play, video games are playing for just the fun of it. And, if it wasn't for the outlets that we had, like, YouTube and Twitter, I don't think, we would even find out, kind of some of the different opinions on how the game should progress in different ways. So, like I said, I'm kind of this optimist that's really stubborn. And I know many people say, your optimism is blind and, your optimism doesn't highlight the problems with the game. I've said it before. There are many content creators that discuss the problems in the game. I discuss the ones that I feel, affect me, affect my audience when we talk about those things. But I don't want to harp on that. Instead, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be a cheerleader for the Division 2 just because it's a game that I like. It's the only shooter that I play exclusively. And so I understand other people having other shooters that they can go to, like Destiny, which I own, but I'm not really into. And so this is why I continue to look for a lot of information about, the Division 2. So if you're a Division 2 agent, rejoice. Now, another aspect that we must talk about before I let you go from this video as well is matchmaking and the various different discrepancies that you'll see. I've seen people say, you know, I matchmake for challenging and nobody ever matchmakes with me. You also have to understand that the new player base may not even have gotten to the end game, or even though they're level 30, they're probably still trying their hands on, you know, some of the mechanics and difficulty levels. And so their progression is much likely slower. And then the older player base are probably playing exclusively on heroic content. So most of them are not playing challenging, and they're playing legendary content because the game has had so many months for people to be able to progress, learn difficulty patterns, adapt to the game, and become just much better. And so that's pretty much, you know, kind of how I see, you know, why those matchmaking discrepancies might be. And then there's also a lot of content in the game. Crazy as that sounds, the map is already huge because we've had, you know, I think it's, what's the name of the Coney Island added to it. We had Kinley College added. We had the Stronghold, Manning National Zoo, Camp White Oak, also added to those, you know, and we had 2 raids as well. So when you look at all of the nature of the content, the 2 raids, which are endgame content, also is driving a bigger, you know, desire, because, you know, some people are trying to get the exotics from the new raid, Operation Iron Horse, and then even the old raid, Operation Dark Hours. And so you may not be able to get players to play any content that's, you know, below that level quite easily. But I can almost say if you go into the Division Discord, or if you go into Discords of your favorite Division content creators, you'll be able to pull a group of 8 people to at least attempt any content like that, or even for legendary in that case. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to get out of your hair. Thank you so much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys a lot. I encourage you to check out this website, GameStat, and see for yourself if it's something that, you know, you think can be taken with any validity. Let me know in the comment section. Or if you just think it's all FUBAR, let me also know as well, because I'm willing to have this conversation. All this might just be, you know, weird, but at the end of the day, it is what we have and what we can get our hands on. I'll see y'all hopefully in another video. Thank you so much. Peace out.